An underwater volcano off the BC coast is primed to erupt soon. It's called Axial Seamount, and it has researchers up and down the Pacific Northwest paying pretty close attention.
Scientists along Canada's Pacific seaboard are raising urgent alarms. A sudden, unearthly phenomenon is unfolding in the darkness above British Columbia's coastline, a deep, otherworldly crimson glow bleeding through the fog,
casting haunted reflections across restless water and shadowed forests. Ordinary residents are gripped by a rising sense of unease, drawn in equal measure to the beauty and terror of this spectacle. Red warnings spill across social media. Sirens cut the quiet night as first responders scramble to secure low-lying communities. And beneath it all, the ground itself is whispering of imminent change. Fresh fissures, tremors without warning, and reports of a violent split in the Earth's crust itself along one of Canada's major fault lines. This is danger unmasked, uncertainty raw and immediate, a place where curiosity crashes into primal fear. Scientists who have spent lifetimes studying the sleeping titans beneath British Columbia are, for the first time, sounding urgent warnings. This isn't a seasonal storm battering the coast, or a routine tremor forgotten in days. The British Columbia coast, long recognised as seismically and volcanically active, but often underappreciated for the scale of its hazards, now stands on the edge of an event that may redefine every old assumption. Why has the sea begun to burn with a colour not seen in living memory? How does a tranquil coastline abruptly flicker with the marks of magma? And what, exactly, is about to awaken from beneath the mountains, seafloor, and city streets? The danger does not stop here. What is breaking the night just offshore? This luminous scarlet band, this trembling earth, may be the mere beginning. What stirs below could change the map, lives, and the very ground beneath Canada's west coast. What is really happening beneath British Columbia? And is this how a new volcanic episode begins? Subscribe now and join us as we dive into this unfolding mystery gripping the world's attention. When coastal calm dissolves into glowing chaos, you'll want every urgent update. The first eyewitness accounts arrived just before 3 AM. A fisherman anchoring near Tofino described a blood-red river of light shimmering between the swells, pulsing brighter each minute. By 3:17 AM, lighthouse keepers relayed puzzled yet urgent warnings. The sea was glowing. Automated weather cams captured streaks of ruby against slate-black horizons. Images that soon blanketed global news feeds. For hours, the British Columbia coastline became a gallery of the unknown. Boats adrift on a glowing sea, fir trees outlined like stage props, faces painted in spectral red. Yet as scientists from the Pacific Geoscience Center scrambled to investigate, something more concerning emerged. Seismic instruments up and down Vancouver Island registered dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of earthquakes in less than 24 hours. Micro-tremors at first, escalating into shallow, rolling quakes that coursed through soil and stone. Dr. Annika Lee, a senior geologist monitoring the Cascadia subduction zone, summarized hours of data with 7 words broadcast across the emergency network. Something deep is moving beneath the coast. Satellite images released before dawn only heightened the anxiety. A narrow band of intense infrared heat, hot enough to register on meteorological sensors, burned bright just offshore, tracing a jagged line that matched both known faults and seafloor ridges. Then, seismic stations near the rugged coastlines of Bella Bella and Port Hardy picked up an unmistakable spike. The Earth's crust itself had ruptured, a major fault line splitting open in a motion so abrupt it startled even seasoned researchers. The rupture, literally tearing through rock beneath ancient forests, quickly became the focus of national concern. The drama unfolding along the surface, the eerie scarlet glow painting harbours, was now matched by the violence beneath, the ground shuddering, the coastline shifting, and a volcanic system stirring. Mount Meager, a behemoth volcano and one of Canada's most hazardous, flickered on hazard maps as new magma appeared to surge upward, compressing, cracking, and threatening release. The line between beauty and disaster, between awe and danger, had never been thinner. The danger does not stop here. The visible, glowing ocean is only the first sign. Beneath the waves, a deeper risk is rising. The world's eyes have been drawn not only by an atmospheric light show, but by the enigmatic signature of fiery geological processes. This is no ordinary red tide. In fact, samples rushed to shore by local researchers contained not bioluminescent plankton, but superheated gases escaping from cracks in the ocean floor. The mysterious radiance, far from benign, is confirmation of something more. Magma is moving upward. The Undersea Axial Seamount, an active underwater volcano closely monitored by Canadian and American research teams, is showing clear signs of heightened activity. Pockets of magma are surging, cracking open new vents, and releasing both heat and mineral-laden fluids. Every deepening shade of crimson across the Pacific is a warning. The coast is now subject to volcanic processes not witnessed in generations. Is it possible that the red glow, the shaking earth, and the rupturing fault line are all interconnected? Scientists warn that this is almost certainly the case. What creates beauty now may unleash catastrophe next, and face the sobering reality that British Columbia's volcanic risks may have crossed a critical threshold. Let's unravel the evidence. The first warning came not from the sky, but from the restless sea. For months leading up to this event, marine geophysicists had tracked a swarm of faint but unmistakable earthquakes clustered around the Axial Seamount. At first, these were little more than statistical curiosities, hundreds of tiny tremors, many too subtle to detect without sensitive instruments. Yet last week, as sensors relayed their data streams, patterns shifted dramatically. Seismic activity escalated quickly, moving from deep, scattered crustal movements to repeated, shallow quakes focused within just a few kilometers of the Undersea volcano's summit. By the time the night sky glowed crimson, more than 2,000 measurable earthquakes had struck the seafloor of the Pacific Northwest in a single day, a swarm far denser than any previously recorded. At nearly the same time, temperature and chemical sensors deployed by research vessels registered a spike in superheated, mineral-rich water erupting from the ocean floor. These so-called hydrothermal vents, normally home to unique marine life, began to emit clouds of sulfur and iron, their output so intense it tinted the water a rusty red and raised local water temperatures by several degrees. This is classic volcanic behavior, Dr. Amajit Gill explained during an emergency broadcast. Rising magma heats trapped groundwater, drives off gases, and as pressure builds, these fluids escape through cracks in the crust. The result is what you see now: glowing water and a coastline lit by energy from underground. But the eruption offshore is only one front in a wider crisis. On land, rapid ground movement is increasingly documented not only by seismographs, but by emergency crews called to sites of sudden ground collapse and ruptured pavement. Along the recently split fault line near Vancouver Island, cracks have appeared in access roads. Landslides pound the trunks of ancient firs, while residents report low, humming sounds rolling up from the earth itself. As these signs converge, researchers with the National Geological Survey are sounding alerts. Data from an orbiting satellite, a European Space Agency mission circling high above North America, shows a long, glowing seam of extreme heat paralleling the British Columbia coastline. Readings are strongest directly west of Mount Meager and atop Axial Seamount, forming a continuous pathway for magma deep beneath the crust. It is as though the entire margin of Western Canada has briefly become visible, outlined by heat. The The red glow that drew thousands to their windows is not meteorological, but a living scar on the surface of the Earth itself. Subscribe now for the most urgent updates as this unprecedented coastal event develops. And if you're in British Columbia, share what you're seeing in the comments below. In natural disasters, timing is everything. What makes the current situation so distinctive and alarming is the convergence of hazards, the way multiple risks overlap to amplify danger exponentially. Ground sensors, she explained, reveal a growing void beneath Vancouver Island, a newly formed gap where the crust is stretching, torn open by ongoing seismic activity. It is no longer possible to talk about British Columbia's risk in isolated terms. Fault rupture, volcanic disturbance, or coastal hazard. Instead, each event aggravates the next, producing what disaster planners term a compound hazard. The surging magma beneath Axial Seamount is increasing pressure along the Cascadia subduction zone, the infamous tectonic boundary that has threatened the Pacific Northwest for centuries. While British Columbia's dormant volcanoes, especially Mount Meager, justifiably draw the most attention, it's the chain of events, one hazard triggering another, that raises the region's risk profile into the unknown. Satellite imaging published before noon intensifies every concern. The jagged seam of heat, still burning bright, snakes from volcanic vents deep offshore to newly mapped surface ruptures on land. The visible red glow along the coastline becomes a map for something even more dangerous. A hidden network of rising magma and fracturing Earth. Canadian infrastructure was long built on the statistical rarity of these worst-case possibilities. The Big One quake is expected every few centuries. Volcanoes sleep for millennia, but the current reality challenges all those assumptions. The safety margin, once measured in generations, has shrunk to days or even hours. Why is British Columbia facing such a crisis now? Scientists point to the combined effects of deep geologic forces and subtle shifts in the region's tectonic stress fields. The Cascadia subduction zone is notorious for accumulating pressure. Sudden releases through volcanic or fault activity can create unpredictable ripple effects. Crustal stretching, rapid ground collapse, and hot fluid release are all dangerous, Dr. Annika Lee notes. Combined, they mark an active, evolving magmatic system moving closer to the surface. Above ground, the warnings become lived reality. Roads buckle and crack. Power substations, corroded by volcanic gases, flicker and fail. In a village near Campbell River, an evacuation is ordered as homes slide toward a widening ravine. Social media fills with images of landscapes glowing at night, followed by videos of surging hot groundwater venting near rivers. All these phenomena, the lights, tremors, land movement, and chemical changes, offer a single, urgent message. British Columbia's tranquility is only a thin veneer. Below, a geologic revolution is underway, with consequences that cannot be reversed. With every accelerating warning, how much time is left before the situation escalates further? And what will the next eruption reveal about the future of the Pacific coast? By midday, the coastline's red glow was joined by an even more disturbing symptom: columns of steam rising over the forest canopy. Near Mount Meager, remote trail cameras and drone surveys documented geysers of superheated water erupting through permafrost and snow, melting patches of hillside in minutes. Whole alpine meadows were scarred, green replaced by black streaks as geothermal vents widened, leaving devastation in their wake. As ground crews moved in to investigate, scientists like Dr. Amajit Gill matched field observations with live data. What they found erased any doubt. The region's magmatic system is not just stirring, it is rising. Volcanic gases, typically sealed far underground, are now escaping through a network of new fractures, their presence signaled by the strong scent of sulfur and visible clouds of ash-laden steam. Mount Meager itself, iconic, beautiful, and long considered quiescent, now bears unmistakable marks of activity. Small explosive signals in its summit register as sharp spikes on seismographs. Fumaroles on the mountain roar with greater force each hour, venting steam and the first fine particles of volcanic ash in over a century. Dr. Amarjeet Gill, speaking amid the turmoil, addresses a live press conference. "We are tracking rapid changes in all volcanic indicators, the red glow offshore, the tremors, and direct observation of ascending magma. These are phases of a developing eruption. Everyone in the region must follow evacuation protocols. This is no longer a theoretical risk." At sea, Canadian Coast Guard vessels maintain a perimeter outside the exclusion zone. Teams of geologists in protective gear approach sections of coastline where the crimson glow remains most intense. Specialized instruments collect water and gas samples above Axial Seamount's new vent. Early analysis finds minerals associated with rising magma and tiny grains of volcanic glass, clear signs that molten rock is nearing the ocean floor. The story of the red glow, an initial enigma, has become visible, tangible danger. Vaporized forests, seismic chaos, and direct warnings from astonished experts. Yet the ocean keeps many secrets. Even as field crews battle collapsed roads and damaged infrastructure, satellites stream continuous infrared data. The thermal band over Axial Seamount is now 3 times brighter than a week before. Patterns in the data match the energy profile of rising magma and, possibly, the early stages of an eruption. Yet perhaps most sobering is what's seen by simple observation. Aerial drones returning from offshore patrols reveal circular, expanding patterns of disturbed seawater where hot gases churn to the surface. Fish die instantly. Seabirds wheel overhead, their cries muted by the rolling thunder below. Every hour, the evidence for an imminent eruption grows, and the land itself shifts, tilting, cracking, sometimes sinking. For the communities of British Columbia, the danger is no longer abstract. The coastline is being remade in real time. Remain alert for crucial updates as British Columbia's volcanoes, faults, and coasts transform before our eyes. Share your experiences in the comments below. If chaos appears to rule the surface, order is emerging in the data. In emergency command centers, teams of geophysicists led by Dr. Mila Russo of the National Geological Survey pore over torrents of real-time seismic, thermal, and chemical readings. They first chart the unusual progression of the seismic swarm. Earthquakes multiply, traveling in a line southwest to northeast, from offshore Axial Seamount to land beneath Mount Meager. Each pulse is a signal, suggesting a large volume of magma is pushing through the brittle crust, seeking a route to the surface. Second, the satellite's glowing infrared seam, the newly dubbed thermal scar, matches perfectly with the path of recent quakes and ground ruptures. What seemed initially like random blips now forms a distinct corridor, molten rock, gases, and heat, all moving together from within the Earth toward the surface. Third, chemical sampling of groundwater, rivers, and coastal seawater reveals alarming spikes. Elevated levels of dissolved sulfur, iron, and volcanic elements cluster along the same corridor revealed by the heat and quakes. The ocean's crimson hue is, in effect, a visible guide to the pathway of rising magma. Dr. Mila Russo addresses the growing crisis during a national broadcast. All evidence now points to large-scale magma migration. The red glow is not just a warning, it is the signature of a process underway. Cascading geological hazards are converging. Protective measures designed for isolated incidents may not be sufficient in the face of a complex, compounding event. Advanced computer models, recalibrated hourly, simulate possibilities from a contained undersea eruption to a surface breach closer to populated areas. In every scenario, risk multiplies with the speed and interconnectedness of the events. Field crews report back. Faults continue to slip. Fresh rifts snake through forests. Bubbling gas kills fish, birds, and fouls the air for kilometers. Anxiety and resolution war across faces in emergency teams. In Shelburne Bay, children are evacuated by boat as a sulfurous fog settles. Throughout, attention remains on the ocean. The deepest dangers may still remain hidden, gathering force for a dramatic emergence. As night settles a second time over British Columbia's embattled coast, the mood is transformed. Where fascination once prevailed, residents packing headlands and piers to witness the scarlet marvel, a more somber fear now pervades. The coastline thrums with aftershocks. Ships once secure in harbours move to deeper waters, hoping to avoid tsunamis or debris. The red glow intensifies, pulsing in sync with seismic swells and every sudden burst of steam from beneath. Dr. Mila Russo, monitoring developments from her Vancouver command centre, issues a direct warning. We must prepare for an eruptive event, likely offshore but possibly extending to land. This is the ultimate test for infrastructure and emergency management systems. The Earth is moving. Its power is real and unpredictable. Highways, some already split, are shut down to prevent disaster amid landslides and subsiding ground. Emergency sirens echo through valleys, answered by helicopter rotors thumping through the night. Yet even as danger mounts, communities rally. Volunteers organize at relief centers, distribute water, and assist with evacuations. Emergency bulletins loop through the night. Move to higher ground. Be alert for gas. Evacuate if told. Do not underestimate this event. At a press briefing, Dr. Amarjeet Gill and Dr. Mila Russo read from the latest update. This is a coordinated geological upheaval. The coastline of British Columbia is being altered. What unfolds now will shape the future and memory of this region. No one can say what dawn will bring. The only certainty is that the coastline is in uncharted territory. A new understanding settles over both scientists and residents. The glowing sea, relentless tremors, and volcanic gas plumes are more than warnings. They mark the end of expectation and the start of real, irreversible change. For generations, British Columbia gazed westward, comforted by presumed stability. But the crimson glow lighting up the coast is a signal, not merely of volcanic beauty, but of a region on the cusp of transformation. The question becomes real and personal for each community and household. What if the margin for error is truly gone? Tonight, the scarlet hue burns on, as scientists and emergency crews stream across land and sea, gathering data, coordinating response, and rewriting protocols as events unfold. At this intersection of chance and inevitability, British Columbia stands exposed, not as an observer, but as a living edge of planetary change. The danger is not coming, it is here. Subscribe for the latest updates as this story of a coast awakened continues. Share your experiences below and join us as we track every step of this extraordinary geological event. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, on the changing edge of the world, knowledge is the only foundation that endures.